Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So welcome to the 2023 ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum. My name is Hyun-Jung Won, your MC for today's forum. I'd like to express my gratitude to all of you who have joined us today. So this forum, which will be conducted with a full on-site participation, has the theme of digital transformation for innovative human resource development. Relevant government officials and private experts from the ASEAN Plus 3 region are participating. Now let's commence the 2023 ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum. First, we will hear the opening remarks from the Vice Minister Lee Sung-hee of the Ministry of Employment and Labor. The Vice Minister has pre-recorded his opening remarks for today. So let's give a big round of applause and watch the video.
It is a great pleasure to meet you. I'm Sung-hee Lee, Vice Minister of Employment and Labor. I'm pleased that we are holding the 11th ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum together with the World Bank today. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the ASEAN Plus 3 countries, as well as the officials of the ASEAN secretariats and international organizations who came all the way to Korea. Also, I'd like to thank the World Bank and the HRD Service of Korea for their efforts in organizing this event. ASEAN, touted as a region of limited potential, is growing dynamically amid economic, social, and cultural exchanges actively underway. Especially with the foundation of the ASEAN community in 2015, people-to-people ties and physical connectivity have been strengthened with the region. Since the initiation of dialogue relations in 1989, Korea and ASEAN have continuously developed a cooperative relationship while expanding changes and cooperation across various fields, including the economy, society, and culture. In the field of employment and labor, Korea and ASEAN have diversified our cooperation areas, expanding our focus from policy advice projects for improving labor laws and systems to capacity building projects on vocational education and training employment service and qualification system network project. Moreover, we have actively carried out a wide range of bilateral cooperation projects. We are faced with major changes and challenges driven by rapid technological development and digitalization. With technological progress sparking the fourth industrial revolution, huge changes are on the way. To prepare for the future of work, it has become essential to lay the foundation for securing and fostering human resources. Thus, Korean government has annually hosted ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum since 2013 to share policy experiences and promote constructive dialogue in the field of human resources development that has become a key issue of the ASEAN region. And from 2015, we have co-hosted the forum together with the World Bank to create synergy in our joint effort. In our previous forums, we discussed common challenges such as improving the quality of vocational training and nurturing skilled labor forces. For this year's forum, we have set the key topic of AI and digital transformation to further develop our discussions in response to the drastic changes in the labor market. I believe this forum serves a valuable opportunity to strengthen solidarity and cooperation between Korea and ASEAN, and I look forward to exchanging experiences and knowledge to find a better way forward and contribute to the development of our human resources development policies. Distinguished guests, Korea, which has risen from the ashes of the war to a developed country in just half a century, recognizes ASEAN as an important partner for mutual growth. The Korean government will actively share development experiences and further strengthen cooperation with ASEAN countries to continuously contribute to the sustainable development of ASEAN. I'd like to once again thank World Bank and relevant officials for their hard work in preparing this forum, and sincerely hope for the health and happiness of all of you here today. Thank you.
Thanks to Vice Minister Lee Sung-hee for delivering the message of today's forum with his kind words. So next, we will have Christian Edo, Practice Manager of the World Bank's Education Division for the East Asia and Pacific region, to give a welcoming remark. He has personally come to join us, so let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, good morning. On behalf of the World Bank, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 2023 ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum. We are very honored to have you here for this important agenda. I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Soon-Jin Lee, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Employment and Labor, Republic of Korea, Mr. Jung-Yoon Kim, President of HRD Korea, and their teams for this strong leadership and hard work with us at the World Bank East Asia and the Pacific Education team to keep our long-term partnership for over 10 years. This is the 11th, and make this knowledge-sharing event possible. I would like to thank also Dr. Kao Kim Hong, Secretary General of ASEAN, speakers and all delegations for your participation and education, really to education and training. We just came through the COVID-19 pandemic, and digital technologies become really an essential feature of a well-developed skill development and labor market system, which can transform the future of work and the future of learning. Yet, there is a very limited knowledge on what these changes might unveil going forward, their impacts on skill development and jobs, and the possibility and the policy framework to accelerate development. To help our counterparts to cope with these challenges by learning from advanced countries such as Korea, and learning from each other, from our own experiences, the World Bank and the Ministry of Employment and Labor of the Republic of Korea are jointly organizing this 11th annual event today in Seoul. This forum will address the policy development in facilitating digital transformation in the skill development and employment services, share good practices in leveraging artificial intelligence to support customized, individualized, and lifelong learning pathways and promote regional cooperation and knowledge exchange to establish an effective digital ecosystem for human resources development. The World Bank has been working with the Korean government in promoting skill development and employment in the region in the past decade. We jointly established the platform of the annual ASEAN 3+3 HRD Forum with the Korea Ministry of Employment and Labor and HRD Korea. Last year, we celebrated 10 years partnership. I had the pleasure of being here for that. And then we are very pleased to sustain this great partnership by continually utilizing this knowledge-sharing platform to bring Korea and other countries good practices and good fit and innovations to support countries in the East Asia and the Pacific region in skill development and employment. Going forward, the World Bank will continue to explore more and in-depth collaborations with Korean partners to facilitate digital transformation for innovative human resource development by technical support, lending cooperation, knowledge sharing, and capacity building in skills development and employment. I'm really very happy to be here for this forum, and I really look forward to hearing about all of our discussions during the forum. So again, thank you so very much for joining us, and Kansamila.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Practice Manager Christian Edo, for your warm welcoming words. So next, Mr. Kim Young-jung, the acting president of HRD Korea, will give his congratulatory remarks. Let's bring him up to the stage with a big round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Young-jung, acting chairman of Human Resource Development Service of Korea. I'm pleased to deliver these congratulatory remarks on behalf of the Republic of Korea and HRDK. I would like to extend a warm welcome to the participants from ASEAN member states, China, Japan, and other countries and international organizations. Welcome to Korea again. Distinguished guests, this is very meaningful that we say that when we have a important guest, this particular bird sounds particular sound. Then I found that sound this morning, and then I realized that we are going to have a very important guest today. That is a very good sign. So again, welcome to Korea. Distinguished guests, the ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum, which has been held annually since 2003, is now in its 11th edition with in-depth discussions on human resources development in the ASEAN region. I'd like to thank the ASEAN member states and China, Japan, and other countries and international organizations for their unwavering support for the 11th forum until today. In particular, Vice Minister Lee Sung-hee of the Ministry of Employment and Labor for declaring the forum open through video, Mr. Christian Edo, World Bank's Regional Director for Education in Asia and the Pacific, who delivered a welcome address speech in person, and ASEAN Secretary General Gao Kum-hoon, who was not unfortunately unable to make it in person due to his busy schedule, but took the time to deliver a keynote address. Thank you again, and all the distinguished guests, both home and abroad. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to you all. Following the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the COVID-19 pandemic, humanity has entered the era of digital transformation with the emergence of the ChatGPT in 2023. Securing high-quality human resources that meet the needs of the industry and the time is becoming the core of national competitiveness to respond to rapid technological changes. In response, the Korean government is making policy efforts to foster the digital workforce needed by all industries. For example, we have established the K-Digital platform to support the development of digital capabilities of the Korean people. It supports digital convergence training for job seekers and employees and shared training infrastructure to enhance their capability and adaptability to relevant jobs. I'm sure that many countries and international organizations present here today are facing the same problems as we are and are finding answers and solving them wisely. At this point, it is very timely that we have organized this forum to share and discuss relevant policies under the theme of digital transformation for innovative human resources development. I am confident that this forum will provide a good foundation for us to learn from each other's policy experiences and develop the system in a better direction in the future. At the recent ASEAN summit, Korea and ASEAN agreed to launch the ASEAN Korea Digital Innovation Flagship Project next year with the goal of strengthening human capacity in AI. This is a testament to the fact that both Korea and ASEAN countries recognize the need to foster future generations and cooperate in high-tech industries. With this forum, Korea used to be a poor country in the past, but we have managed to work, and then in the way we got a lot of support from the countries, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them. And that is the reason why we would like to share our experience for the development and growth models with other countries and to cooperate to make a co-growth with them. For that matter, all of you here today, we are partners to go together in the future. So welcome again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Acting President Kim Young-jung. So from now on, we will have a group photo session among the key participants in today's forum. Thank you. So it's time to officially begin the forum. So for the keynote speech, we will start with a presentation on building skills development system in the age of digitization by Koji Miyamoto, senior economist at the World Bank. So let's have him with a big round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today in front of distinguished policymakers, administrators, educators, and many other important stakeholders for skills development. I'm very excited to be able to discuss with you on a topic that is so important at this era, on digital transformation. Let me provide you with a brief context behind this topic, digital transformation, and how this is transforming our skills development system. Obviously, the scale, the magnitude of the digital economy is considerable. Its contribution to the GDP, both globally and also in ASEAN countries, are tremendous. And it is also growing very fast, year by year, as the new technology brings new opportunities to further grow. Of course, one of the key driving forces behind digital transformation is the artificial intelligence, which is the most promising one. One of the estimates says AI could add between 2.6 to 4 trillion US dollars annually across selected cases of its usage. The truth is that we still don't know the wide and deep magnitude and influence this AI has in our economy and society. So the estimates are probably underestimated. So AI has been rapidly transforming every aspect of our lives, including jobs, and very much unexpectedly and in a volatile ways. So it introduces complexities in the way we live, the way we work, and the way in which we interact with others. The key thing is that AI brings not only challenges, but also opportunities to improve our lives. And of course, what we're interested in is the role of AI and digital transformation in improving our skills development system. Unfortunately, when we look at what's going on around the world, we are not quite ready yet to fully embrace and benefit from digital transformation. We see that around the world, almost 2.6 billion people still remain offline. Over 90% of people in high-income countries use the internet, but only 20% of those in low-income countries use the internet in 2022. So there's a huge gap in access. And we have barely started to set up frameworks, regulations, and structures to help realize the promise of digital transformation. So I wanted to give you a context that we're still not quite ready yet, but we are working towards that. And the skills development system is a very important area where governments need to work on. And I see the enthusiastic participation to this event as a good sign that we all agree with this. So I would like to structure my presentation around 3 very simple questions. The first question is, which jobs, and therefore which skills, have become increasingly important in the age of digital transformation? And then, after establishing which skills matter, the second question is, how are we performing in these skills? And the last question, obviously, is, what are the ways to improve the skills development system, the education training system, to ensure that everybody, all learners have the capacity to acquire the right skills, the most important skills to navigate in this increasingly complex and dynamic labor market and society. So these are the three core questions I would like to address during my presentation. To make it easier to progress through my discussion, I prepared a simple framework which looks like this. Right? So what we're interested in here is to come up with an idea of preparing a skills development system that will develop learners' skills that matter. It could be foundational skills, it could be academic and vocational skills. And the idea is that these skills will contribute to the jobs that are making transitions due to digital transformation. We're interested in not just skills development system, we're interested in resilient, efficient, inclusive, and sustainable system. And I also would like to highlight that when we talk about skills development system, we're not just talking about upskilling and reskilling. Now, those are very important, clearly, upskilling and reskilling. But that is not the only thing, right? Skill development system is a lifelong progress, as you can see in the bottom left. Skills development system starts way earlier, much earlier, starting from even birth, or even before birth, because the parents have a very important role. So it starts from early childhood and progressively develop until adulthood and onwards. Skills development system efforts needs to start early. If not, we cannot address the equity. We cannot be efficient in preparing our youth and adults for the challenging world of digital transformation. So this is one important point I wanted to emphasize here. The main discussion will center around the impact or the role of digital transformation in affecting jobs, affecting skills, and therefore shaping skills development systems. I will first discuss what is the impact of digital transformation on jobs or the task requirements, and then therefore on the skills requirements. I will give you a short answer. What we find is that foundational skills play a very important role in the age of digital transformation. That is the one major finding. So after establishing that foundational skills matter, I would like to show you whether the skills development system is delivering, right, these key skills that matter a lot during digital transformation. And then I would discuss how digital transformation is directly affecting the skills development system, for instance, by introducing opportunities to use EdTech. That's one example. I would also like to discuss how the increasing importance of foundational skills are also affecting how the skills development system function. So this is the outline of the presentation. So let's go deep, dive into the first topic. Has digital transformation affected jobs and skill needs? So this is the question I will address. Now, in the discussion around digital transformation, one of the most prevalent discussion is around the threat of automation, right? You can see in this illustration a young boy or young man who is waiting for the recruitment interview, right? And he's sitting next to the robots who are supposed to be fairly clever. So the idea is that the new young candidates are competing with robots because robots are getting better and better in performing tasks that are required in the labor market. Now, these robots are also getting better and better in skills that are required in the labor market. Okay? So this human subject, this young man, needs to perform well in these critical skills. Now, one of the most intriguing, let's say, findings that I've seen over the past few months is actually a result coming from asking the AI, ChatGPT, to take the PISA test, right? I don't know if many of you have seen this finding, but our colleagues at the OECD has asked the ChatGPT to take the PISA test. Now, PISA is actually getting, the discussion around PISA is heating up because the results of PISA will come up in a few weeks, in December the 5th. But I wanted to show this. So I want to show this. You can see on the far left the results from reading literacy, right? Reading. You can see that students age 15 got 57% of the question right. And then the OECD last year gave ChatGPT 3.5, an older model, a chance to respond. And what they found out is that they actually performed better than 15-year-olds. And interestingly, the OECD did it again, using a much more advanced ChatGPT. And they performed even better. You can see that the latest ChatGPT 4.0 got 85% of the questions right. So this is amazing. This is amazing because the PISA is supposed to measure the global metrics of skills that we believe are very important, right? We all believe that those are very important, and it's driving our policies, it's driving our programs. And yet we see the ChatGPT performing very well, also in science as well. So this was very surprising to me. And this has a very important implications for our discussions. Now, ChatGPT has been subject to many other skills tasks. I found this recent study allowing ChatGPT to perform on a foundational cognitive skills. It's called verbal reasoning skills. And you can see, in a nutshell, is that human candidates, and they tested about 36,000 individuals, so it's a large sample. They performed about 12 points out of 20, approximately. And then when they gave the ChatGPT a chance to take this test, with some variations in the prompts, right? Instructions. That's why you have 5 options for ChatGPT 3.5. They perform fairly comparably with the human subjects, human candidates. And then importantly, the newer version of ChatGPT 4.0 performs even better, right? Verbal reasoning is a very important foundational skills for us to function in the digital transformation. And ChatGPT performs very well. Is this surprising? It was surprising to me. Now, so you may wonder, when we talk about foundational skills, social and emotional skills are an important element of foundational skills. Can ChatGPT also perform well on a test that is designed to measure social and emotional skills? There's this test called situational judgment test. Maybe some of you know about this test. It is designed to measure individuals' capacity to decision making, organization, planning, right, and also communication. So it tests a broad set of skills, and again, we find that ChatGPT performs quite well, right? They get more than 50% of correct answers, which is actually quite high for a standard situational judgment test. And like what I had showed you before, it's getting better and better over time as the performance of this AI improves. So how do you feel about this? So our robots who are sitting next to this human job candidates seem to be, at least from these examples, performing well in the test of some of the core skills that we care about in our society. And no wonder that there's already a large number of tasks that are subject to automation. In 2022, according to a survey that was done by the World Economic Forum, 34% of the 34% of the tasks are considered to be subject to be run by machines. And employers estimate that this automation of tasks is likely to increase over time, in 5 years, up to 43%, right? What kind of impact has that in terms of jobs? Would it lead to a reduction in the jobs? Massive increase in unemployment? Interestingly, the recent data from the OECD, from the Employment Outlook 2023, shows that there's actually a little evidence of significant employment effect of automation, right? Approximately 70% of employers in OECD countries said that the impact of AI on overall employment is either, actually, there's no impact, no effect, or has even decreased, right? So interesting enough, there's little evidence of a significant negative employment effects of artificial intelligence. And it makes me wonder, why is that? With all these automation going on, right? And seemingly replacing human beings, those job candidates, you may wonder why the employment, the unemployment hasn't gone up. And one reason to explain this could be that even jobs with a high degree of automatability, such as, just to give an example, janitors, right? People who would clean the buildings, or sometimes houses. They employ diverse tasks, not only a single task or limited set of tasks, but they employ diverse set of tasks, including those that are less likely to be automated. You can see from this example from the United States, it gives a range of task requirements for a janitor. The top 3 are gather and empty trash, clean floors by sweeping. These are relatively easy to automate. We've seen even in this hotel, cleaning robots, busy working around together with the janitors. But janitors also have a bit more complicated, more complex jobs, like setting up, arranging, and removing decorations, or notifying managers if there's a problem, if there's a major reports of repairs that needs to be entered. So there are actually a set of additional tasks that are still very difficult to automate. So this could be one of the reasons behind that. There are still many jobs that are out there, although involving some tasks that are subject to automation, but still these are relevant jobs, and the employment maintains. And moreover, in general, only 9% of workers in OECD countries are employed in jobs with at least 25% of highly automatable skills, right? So in fact, the aggregate size of workers who may be affected by automation is not as high as we had suspected. But still, the critical occupations in 2023 are changing. We can see from global surveys or regional surveys that the fastest growing jobs at this time, during the era of digital transformations, are actually computer and data specialists, and also business and information analysts. These are the kind of jobs that are increasingly in demand across many countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Singapore, right? Maybe this doesn't surprise you. So the critical jobs are changing, and there seems to be a very high digital element to these critical jobs that are soaring. But interestingly, when we ask employers, what are the top 10 skills? What are the most important skills for now and in the future? They do not only talk about digital skills, which is obviously important, but actually many of the skills that they believe are of massive importance are higher order cognitive skills, such as analytical thinking, creative thinking, as well as social and emotional skills, resilience, motivation, curiosity, empathy, right? All these range of skills. So if you look at the top skills that at least employers think we should focus on, it's a range of digital literacy, as well as a range of cognitive and social and emotional skills. So it's a mixed set of skills, which I would call foundational skills. Okay? So this is very important. So please keep this in mind. When we look at Asia, there's also a high and increasing demand for basic and advanced digital skills. We need people who can do coding, who can do advanced programming, but we also need a decent share of a workforce who all have basic digital skills. This is the same outside of Asia. It is particularly the case in Asia. Now, when I was talking about digital skills about 15 years ago, the audience were always thinking about skills such as capacity to use computers, ability to use a mouse and keyboard. Those are the kind of skills that people would imagine when they hear about digital skills. But nowadays it's totally different. When you talk to policymakers, when you talk to the private sector, educators, researchers, when they say digital skills, it's actually not only the capacity to use and enhance digital technologies, but to be able to use those to communicate, to collaborate with others, and solve problems most effectively and safely. So these are the kind of capacities, these social and emotional capabilities are at the heart of digital skills when we talk to these stakeholders. And this is very evident when we analyze the so-called digital skills framework that are developed by European Union or other international agencies like UNESCO. So far we've been discussing about emerging jobs driven by digital transformation. Right? How about other jobs, more traditional jobs that have always been around? You can see in this photo an example of an airport check-in officer. So that's a job, airport check-in officer. I believe many of you have gone through these colleagues as you arrived in Korea. Their role before was highly routine, right? They had a fixed terms of task, checking the passport, issuing the ticket, taking in the bags, and sending off the passenger to the terminal, right? So it was a highly automated, highly regular task. Now, if you go to the Tokyo International Airport, as in many other airports, you see a different scene, right? We see series of boxes, a machine, an AI that individual passengers are supposed to use, right? You see much less of these officers, airport check-in officers. Now their role has changed, right? They no longer do a fairly routine task, but what they do now is actually troubleshooting, right? They try to solve problems that passengers cannot deal with. That's the important thing about the change in this role of this airport check-in officer. And this check-in officer obviously needs to have basic digital skills to manipulate these machines. But this person also needs to be able to understand what's the problem with this passenger who cannot check in his bag. She needs to be able to problem solve. She needs to also deal with impatient and frustrated passengers who are about to miss the flight. So she needs to show empathy. She also needs to be assertive, right? So actually, this airport check-in officer has requires a range of foundational skills to be able to function better in a task that is less and less routine. So this is another important point. So to sum up, what I have tried to show you is that digital transformation has significant implications for jobs, as well as task requirements within jobs. It has altered them. And then foundational skills such as advanced cognitive, digital and social emotional skills matter as much as job-specific technical skills. And I wanted to take this opportunity to clarify what we really mean by foundational skills, because foundational skills can be considered as a loose term, right? And people interpret it in a fairly different way. I show you the 3 key elements of foundational skills. First, it is a foundational building blocks of abilities, right, that taken together becomes very powerful. Empathy, reasoning, right, and digital literacy. Those are combined, it's very powerful. Foundational skills are also transferable. What does that mean? It means these are powerful skills wherever you are, whatever you do. Whichever job places that you're engaged in, whatever life scenes, everyday life scene you're in, it becomes very important. Foundational skills are those kind of skills. And lastly, and very importantly, foundational skills are progressive. What does that mean? These are the skills that allows people to learn new skills, right? You may have heard learning to learn skills. These are exactly the foundational skills. These skills combined allow people to learn more and faster. So please keep in mind what I mean by foundational skills. Now, moving on to the second point. After hopefully convincing you that foundational skills are among the key skills, abilities in digital transformation, I would like to question whether our skills development system has been effective or not in preparing these foundational skills. We first asked the employers whether they believe the skills development system has been successful. Well, first, the employers say, when they were asked about major barriers to business transformation, there are many things that they mention. You can see it's too small font, but I don't read it. It includes shortage of investment capitals, understanding of opportunities. But interestingly, the skill gaps remain one of the top barriers for business. And when you ask these business or employers about key reskilling and upskilling priorities, they mention that the range of cognitive, higher order cognitive and social and emotional skills are major priorities because the current workforce and the future workforce that are finishing the skill development system do not have enough of that. So this may be a clear sign that the skill development system, our education and training system, may not have been developing well, may not have been preparing our children very well. Another survey by Gallup and Amazon Group focused on Asian Pacific region also shows that firms face major bottlenecks in hiring employees with required digital skills. Like in Thailand, more than 90% of firms say they have challenges in hiring employees with the right digital skills. Another sign that there's a shortage of digital skills or foundational skills. And lastly, we can also infer whether our skill development system is doing well or not in preparing foundational skills for children, youth, and adults by looking at results from surveys, skills assessments like PISA, like the World Bank's STEP survey, like the OECD's survey of adult skills. I'm not going to go through all this, but in a nutshell, all these surveys show that there's a large proportion of individuals, a large proportion of 15-year-olds, large proportion of 10-year-olds, as well as a large proportion of adults who do not have even the basic level of foundational skill, let alone advanced literacy or digital skills. There's also a sign that suggests that there's a shortage, there's a lack of social and emotional skills. Also this part, there's a measurement challenges to be very assertive with that results. But all in all, there's a huge shortages of individuals with foundational skills, and they tend to be concentrated among particular population groups, typically older adults, and also among low socioeconomic status. And importantly, these inequalities or a high proportion of underperformers start early as 10 and even earlier, right? So skills gap starts very early. So therefore, we could conclude that there's probably a sign that the skill development system is not fulfilling its promise to prepare youth and adults for the era of digital transformation. That is the conclusion that I get when scanning through surveys of individual skills assessment, surveys of employers about skill needs. And this brings me to the last part of my presentation. How can we improve the skill development system in the age of digital transformation? Given that it is not yet fulfilling its promise, how can we do that? How can we leverage the opportunities of digital transformation? There are many elements of a skills development system or education and training system. And I repeat, we're not talking about adult education, upskilling and reskilling. This is about the entire cycle of skills development. One element is the strategic direction. It's the directions that government provides to signal to stakeholders of education and training in terms of the right education, right type of skills to invest in, the best ways to invest in those skills, right? Strategic direction is very important. That's the first point I wanted to look at in the systemic element. Now, what we find when observing an important element of strategic direction, which is the curriculum and the learning standards. These are one of the important instruments that the government uses to provide strategic directions to the stakeholders. When we look at those two, we very often find that these standards, learning standards and the curriculum, are not fully in line with the demand coming from, the skills demand coming from the labor market. It's not fully congruent with the occupational standards as well as the professional standards. That's what we observe. And this incongruence is particularly prevalent, as I see it, at the early stages of education, especially during early years of basic education and early childhood development. And that's a pity, because preparing skills for the future, it should start early. That's the most effective and efficient way to do it. And we know, we have an idea of what are the type of skills that are needed. So why not start early? Why not teach digital skills, even from first grade or even in preschool, right? So that's one idea that some stakeholders tell us. And we see, actually, that there are examples like Estonia. In Estonia, all grade 1 students actually learn digital skills. Many of them even learn how to do coding and programming. So there are some cases. Maybe you may think that may be an extreme case, but there are also cases that some countries are aligning the curriculum and learning standards up to the very early stages of learning. There are also, I do not also see so many curriculum and frameworks that has the right focus and the detailed description on social and emotional skills that I think I have shown you plays a very important role. So why don't we do that? There are also good examples, in this case, in the United States, where social and emotional learning is so advanced. They provide some examples of how to better integrate relevant social and emotional skills in the standards and curriculum. And that could give a good way to direct our stakeholders in investing in the right skills. The second element of the skill development system is obviously setting the learning, ensuring that the learning environment and the learning activities within school and outside of schools are relevant, right? And there's been a lot of activity, and this is particularly an area where digital transformation can play an important role. There are myriads of edtech opportunities out there. I'm sure there are a number of people in the audience who are experts in this. They provide a much better way to teach, to the level of the students, right? To adapt, so that the individuals can develop those critical, basic foundational skills, even math, in the most effective and efficient way. So technology offers a lot of promises, but it's just emerging, right? It is just emerging. We need to really explore this, because there are already some positive cases, good results. There are also a range of innovative learning instruments that are out there that hasn't been fully exploited, right? This includes e-portfolios and also individual learning accounts. Right? E-portfolio is like an individual website, right? You sign in, you can follow your skill development trajectory. And this website gives me what kind of skills I have acquired, what kind of qualification I have acquired. It also provides access to digital learning programs in a single platform. In several countries, this kind of platform has shown big promise. There's one you can see on the upper left a program called Fuzu, which also adds links to available jobs in the labor market. So I can study new skills in light of what kind of labor market, dynamic labor market job opportunities are out there, and even link my account to potential employers if I choose so. So there are, again, many different learning opportunities that we could exploit, we could beneficiate, that are driven by technology. Obviously, everybody in this room agrees that teachers, instructors are at the center of education, skill development. That is clearly the case, right? And when we look at the teachers and instructors, it is not clear that they have the right skill sets to teach foundational skills, right? Many of them would have subject-oriented knowledge. Teachers in math would have a subject-oriented knowledge in math, but they may not have the foundational ability to teach beyond math. They may not be able to teach the ability to collaborate, communicate, show empathy while acquiring math, for example. So this is another area that we need to look at. And then EdTech provides opportunities to help teachers improve their pedagogical learning styles, teaching styles, excuse me. Quality assurance is also very important. We need to be sure that teachers have the right capacity to teach, including foundational skills. We do know in certain cases, certain education systems enforces that teachers have some of those capacity to teach foundational skills. In the US, in fact, all the states and the District of Columbia actually requires that all teachers have the capacity to teach social and emotional learning in order to receive certifications, for example. Last but not least, M&E, monitoring and evaluation, can also be improved, and technology can play a very important role. For this, I would like to highlight the role of this in supporting the disadvantaged children and adults. The World Bank has recently released a report in East Asia and Pacific on the promise of EdTech in supporting those with disability. This just came out about a week ago. And it shows a number of interesting ways to mobilize EdTech to support those who have a visual impairment or auditory impairment. Although the evidence, it doesn't come with a big sample size, but it provides many different interesting ideas to mobilize technology to improve pedagogy. So these are the range of systemic reforms that we really need to consider. The key point is that we cannot just consider one element of the system, right? We can not only limit our attention to improving teachers' pedagogical practices, but we have to also improve quality assurance, strategic direction, monitoring and evaluation. So these systemic elements work when they all work in tandem, together. That's the key point. And this brings me to my last slide. I will provide you with a summary of the key messages and some reflections. I hope, after hearing almost a broken record of the importance of foundational skills, that these skills are here to stay. It has always been important in the past, actually, foundational skills, but it remains actually as relevant in the age of digital transformation, in the age of artificial intelligence. And these foundational skills do not only cover basic ability, capacity to read and write. No, it actually also includes higher order cognitive processing skills, reflecting on information, right? Making judgment when you have competing information and taking actions. These are higher order cognitive skills that are very much foundational. We also mentioned the importance of digital skills and also a range of social and emotional skills that are increasingly important in the age of digital transformation. And these skills, taken together, not just one, but taken together, can play an incredibly important role to obtain highly sought after jobs, as well as traditional jobs for which the task requirements are progressively changing due to automation. They help individuals leverage or complement the powers of artificial intelligence, right? So that people can react under unfamiliar circumstances and under conflicting information. And I repeat, early investment is the best way to develop foundational skills. Okay. I think the rest of the slide is covered, so I have to, it won't show up. But the second point is that despite the importance of foundational skills, our skill development system has not been delivering those skills effectively. You've seen that in some of the slides, right? So in all three dimensions of foundational skills, both cognitive skills, digital skills, and social and emotional skills, there's a sign that skills development system is not delivering fully, right? And so we need to think about how to improve the system. And in order to improve the system, I repeat, let's look at all the systemic elements together, right? Addressing each of the elements is important, but let's look at all of them together and also try to look into good examples, right, of what works. And try to see how one could adapt that and pilot it and then scale up in your respective countries and jurisdictions. I'm glad to see so many leaders of education, leaders in terms of technology, edtech as well, in this room. And I really look forward to listening to the innovations that they have introduced and what kind of potential they have in improving the way the skills development system could work. So with that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Koji Miyamoto. So he said, new technology brings new opportunity. Thank you again for your insightful keynote speech. Before we move on to the second keynote, I'd like to give a brief information regarding presentation materials. So you've got all your name tags with you, right? So on the back of your name tag, there's a QR code. So if you scan the QR code, you can check out all of the presentation materials that we provided. So please refer to that. And let's move on to the second keynote speech. Yes, you find it? Okay, so next we will have Secretary General Kao Kum-hoon of the ASEAN Secretariat to speak on fostering digital technology skills development in ASEAN. So let's meet him with this screen.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And thank you for coming together at the 2023 ASEAN Plus 3 Human Resource Development Forum with the theme Digital Transformation for Innovative Human Resources Development. I extend my congratulations to the Ministry of Employment and Labor of the Republic of Korea and the World Bank for their tireless efforts in organizing this important event. It has been a decade since the forum was launched in 2013. In this post-pandemic era, we find ourselves at a juncture where digital transformation is not just a buzzword, but a fundamental force reshaping our societies, economies, and labor markets, among others. This transformation was actually accelerated during the recent pandemic. The pandemic has underscored the urgency of reimagining our education, learning and training systems. Digital learning models have emerged as a lifeline during social distancing measures. However, many schools with limitations in IT infrastructure were struggling to introduce remote learning. The digital capacity of our schools to be agile, adaptive, and resilient should be further strengthened. We have also witnessed significant shifts in the way industries and businesses operate. Remote work, platform work, and e-commerce have become the integral components of our economies. These changes have not only created new opportunities, but also transformed the employment landscape for job seekers and workers nationally, regionally, and globally. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, digital technologies have swiftly become a cornerstone of well-developed skills development systems. They have played a pivotal role in supporting this transition, leading to the rapid skills diffusion. However, the journey ahead is riddled with uncertainties and challenges, and there is much we need to learn about the impacts, solutions, and policies which are required for effective digital skill mindsets and development. I am therefore pleased that at the 24th ASEAN Republic of Korea Summit held in Jakarta just last month, the leaders welcomed the Republic of Korea's continued support in responding to the fourth industrial revolution, such as digital transformation, e-commerce, science, technology and innovation, smart infrastructure, and future industries. The leaders also appreciated the Republic of Korea's plan to launch the $30 million ASEAN Republic of Korea Digital Innovation Flagship Project to support ASEAN's digital connectivity and transformation through digital technology cooperation based on data and artificial intelligence. This support is indeed timely. Likewise, during the 12th ASEAN Plus 3 Labor Ministers meeting held in October 2022 in Manila, the Labor Ministers supported the promotion of ICT and digitalization to narrowing the digital divide and exclusion, and efficient and inclusive human resources development in response to technological advancement, digitalization and greening of economies and the aging societies. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in recognition of these challenges and opportunities, ASEAN has developed several regional frameworks and action plans to advance its digital transformation in the region. The ASEAN Declaration on Human Resource Development for the Changing World of Work and its roadmap underline the commitment of the ASEAN member states to policies and programs that support lifelong learning from primary education and beyond. The strategy emphasizes skills development as well as reskilling and upskilling to meet the current and future needs of the region's rapidly changing economies. ASEAN has also adopted the ASEAN Labor Ministers' statement on the future of work, which underscores the importance of ensuring that the benefits of technological advancement are shared by all segments of society. Bridging the digital divide, promoting equal access to digital skills, and creating opportunities for all are pivotal towards an inclusive and sustainable growth. Meanwhile, the recent adoption of the ASEAN Declaration on promoting competitiveness, resilience, and agility of workers for the future of work and its guidance document encourage the harmonization of skills training and standards, strengthening of policy measures in labor markets and productivity management, a revitalization of public employment services, and the use of Internet of Things in adapting the changing nature of work and businesses. Recognizing the importance of regional digital integration to foster economic growth and innovation, ASEAN has also adopted the ASEAN Digital Master Plan 2025, ASEAN Digital Integration Framework Action Plan, Consolidate ASEAN Strategy for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and the ASEAN Leader Statement on the Development of the Digital Economy Framework Agreement, among others. These strategies are central to our efforts in harnessing the potential of emerging technologies for the benefit of our people, businesses, and industries that will propel ASEAN forward in the digital era. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this forum brings together key stakeholders to address the multifaceted aspects of digital transformation in our region's human resource development landscape. The challenges are significant, but so are the opportunities. I urge you to use this forum to share best practices, learn from each other, and develop new partnerships to advance digital transformation in human resource development. By working together and learning from one another, we can ensure that no one is left behind in this digital revolution. In closing, I would like to express my appreciation for your commitment to this important cause, and I look forward to the insightful discussions and collaborations that will undoubtedly emerge from this forum. Together, let us pave the way for a more innovative, inclusive, resilient, and prosperous region. Thank you.
Thank you. This was the video keynote speech from the ASEAN Secretariat General. So thank you, everyone. We'll now take a 10-minute break to prepare for session 1. So refreshments are available outside the venue, so feel free to enjoy. And we kindly ask that you return to your seats by 11:35. Again, by 11:35 p.m. Thank you very much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, have you had a good rest? Thank you. So you are joining the 2023 ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum. So now we will begin the presentations on the topic of digital transformation in vocational education and training for session 1. This session will be chaired by Ms. Li Ping Xiao, a senior education specialist at the World Bank. So Ms. Li Ping Xiao will chair following Q&A session as well. So please welcome her with a big round of applause.
Thanks our MC. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. So glad to see you here. Actually, this is the first complete in-person event after the pandemic. So welcome to join this forum. And we are very honored to invite leading experts in the area of digitalized skill development. And then all our invited experts will share with you the successful initiatives, good results, progress, and lessons learned with all of you. And then we also have a panel discussion where we'll invite all participating countries to share your experience and initiatives. And by the end of this forum, we will invite all participants to share your insights, your takeaways, and connect your feedback through the group discussion. So please actively engage, join the discussion, learn from experts, and learn from each other. So now let's start the session 1. We are privileged to have 3 great speakers, and then they will share you the most advanced system for the digitalized skill development, including Korea in our region, including the United States of America, and also European Union. The first speaker is from our host country, Korea. We have Miss Jin Min Kim. She's the Assistant Director of Ministry of Employment and Labor, Republic of China. So I will give floor to Miss Kim. Please.
Nice to meet you. I am Kim Jin-min, Assistant Director of Ministry of Labor, Employment and Labor. Nice to meet you. The audience are far away from Korea. I'm so honored to have this opportunity to present before you. From now on, I'm going to talk about the current status of human resource development in Korea in the era of digital transformation. In Korea, various initiatives are embarked on for nurturing emerging technologies. I'm going to introduce you our highlight business projects, K-Digital Credit and K-Digital Training and K-Digital Platform at our ministry. I'm involved in K-Digital Training. So before I introduce these three projects, let me give you a background and the context why we are pursuing these three projects. In 2016 and in 2020 and 2023, we had a series of innovation and breakthrough that led to the entire change of where we live in and our society. And we have an interconnected society. And with the COVID-19, we have swiftly moved into a digital era. With the emergence of ChatGPT, we don't need to search. We don't need the capability to search and find data. And we are living in a digital transformation era. With this emergence of digital transformation, we have a digitalization in every aspect of our life. Now, without making a contact, we can make on-tact interaction where online is connected externally. And we have an expansion of business model utilizing digital technologies. As a result, significant increase in the demand for digital talents is seen across all industries. Then, compared to this significant demand, how much shortage are we expecting in Korea? We have a shortage of 0.345 million manpower in shortage. In the next 5 years, from 2023 to 2027, we have a shortage of 0.8 million shortage. Supply and shortage of 0.345 million digital manpower, and most acute shortage is seen in the digital sector. What I'm going to introduce you is the other programs that are designed based on this background. The first program I would like to introduce is a K-Digital Credit. And it is a K-Digital based training program with the acceleration of digital transformation in all industries. Digital skills is required for every citizen in Korea, and we want to have a separate support system to make sure that participants in labor market do not face difficulties in entering labor market and adapting to the job market due to the digital divide. So let me look at the method of training for K-Digital Credit. This is a beginner and mid-level training. So we provide big data and coding, and we provide emerging technologies like metaverse. And we have a job integration process as well. And we are providing such training from Sparta and Fast Campus and Class 301 private programs that are popular among young people in Korea. And these programs are provided online, and trainees can get on online training so they can use this service at any time, at any place. At the same time, feedback and study training support are provided in real time simultaneously, so we can provide a self-directed learning environment. Currently, K-Digital Credit is provided from 41 training institutes, and they supply 228 courses. And you can see the major examples of training institutes involved in K-Digital Credit. Now let's show you the result of K-Digital Credit. As of August 2023, 60,000 people have participated in training and 47,000 have completed the program and able to improve their skills. Looking at by gender, 66% of the makeup is women, meaning that more women are involved than men. And you can see that participation of different groups are evenly distributed. Now let's look at the future operation plan of K-Digital Credit. It will provide additional courses covering latest digital technologies such as ChatGPT and semiconductor. And that's the plan for the future. And K-Digital Credit is a beginner's course. And after beginner course is completed, we will provide intermediate courses to further improve digital skills. So we will have, we are trying to identify and develop courses that are linked to this beginner course and intermediate course. Next, a program I would like to talk about is K-Digital Training, which I am personally involved in. As I said previously, in Korea, we have a digitalization going on across all sectors and all age groups. And we need urgently, we are aware of the urgent need for the digitalization and digital skills. We want to train our digital skills to people, but our goal is to make sure that they have the necessary skills to adapt and apply the digital skills they learned. We, together with our training institutes and companies, we design a program together. If you look at the training aspect of the program of digital training, the entire programs is based on agreement with companies to run training course together. And when training institutes design curriculums, companies provide their inputs. And when curriculums are selected and designed, corporate involvement is the key. And we utilize professionals from the company as an instructor so that we can make full use of on-site resources. And also, we such as companies' infrastructure and facilities. All training contents of the K-Digital training, more than 30% of them is dedicated to real-world projects, which is really helpful to improving project-based skills of trainees. So companies are involved at every stage, from course development to teaching, mentoring, feedback, and employment support. So companies are involved from the beginning to the end of the training, making us provide very effective training course. Our K-Digital training was introduced on a pilot basis in 2020, and it was implemented in full swing in 2021, and we got many significant results. We have 259 training institutes involved, providing 631 courses. Not only the size, we provide a quality training courses from these training institutes. We have leading companies engaged in this process like Samsung, Naver, and POSCO in our program. And innovative training institutes, which are popular among young people in the private sector, are involved in the program. And we have many prestigious universities like Seoul National University engaged in this program. we are fully responding to various industrial demands. We have 4 training types in operation. The first one is a Digital New Technology Academy, which provides training based on project with companies with agreements made, and 30% of the total curriculum is project-based. And the next training type is a Leading Digital Company Academy, where KT and Samsung and other leading companies are providing training directly. And this gives a high level of satisfaction and most popular program among young people. A third type is Venture and Startup Academy. So private groups make an agreement with companies to provide talent training. And last type is academy led by region. This is leveraging regional skills council and governance to nurture regional talents.
그래서 저희는 지금까지 총 약 5만 6천 명의 디지털 인재를 양성을 했고요. 저희 취업의 질적인 측면을 보면 취업의 질적인 측면에서도 굉장히 유의미한 사업 성과들을 거두고 있습니다. K 디지털 트레이닝을 수료하고 취업한 훈련생들의 취업처의 질을 보면 기존 디지털 훈련 대비 평균 30만 원이 높은 임금을 받고 있었고요. 그리고 500인 이상의 대규모 기업에 취업한 훈련생들의 비율 또한 약 3배나 높은 수준을 보이고 있었습니다. 네. 그래서 앞으로 K-디지털 트레이닝은 더 많은 우수한 훈련 기관들을 발굴하고 더 많은 디지털 인재를 양성하고자 하는데요. 저희 23년부터 기존 디지털 분야 외에 반도체, 첨단 소재, 드론 등 첨단 산업 분야까지 훈련 분야를 확대해서 운영 중인데요. 앞으로는 이제 전통 산업과 신기술 분야가 융합된 융복합 산업까지 훈련 분야를 확대해 나가고자 합니다. 그리고 저희는 또 지금까지 그려왔던 앞으로도 다양한 훈련 수요에 대응을 하고자 하는데요. 23년부터는 추가적인 심화학습을 원하는 훈련생들의 수요가 높아지면서 프로젝트가 70% 이상 편성되어 있는 단기 심화 과정을 새롭게 운영하고 있습니다. 그리고 이후에는 재직자, 그리고 대학교 저학년 등 다양한 훈련 수요에 대응을 해서 맞춤형 훈련 과정을 추가적으로 개발할 계획에 있습니다. 그리고 마지막으로는 이제 저희는 첨단 산업 분야 선도기업 그리고 명문대학과 같은 이제 우수한 훈련 기관을 이제 적극 발굴해서 훈련생들이 만족할 만한 훈련 과정을 지속 제공해 나갈 예정입니다. 네, 제가 좀 발표를 빠르게 한 것 같은데, 네, 벌써 저희 마지막 사업을 소개해드릴 시간이 되었습니다. 이제 마지막으로 소개해드릴 사업은 K-디지털 플랫폼이라는 사업입니다. 이제 저희는 앞서 설명한 KDC 그리고 KDT와 같이 훈련 과정을 제공하는 직업훈련 사업을 운영 중인데요. 그 외에도 훈련 활성화를 지원하기 위해 훈련 시설, 장비와 같은 인프라를 누구나 사용하고 누구나 접근할 수 있도록 일종의 플랫폼 형태로 공유하고 있습니다. 바로 이러한 사업이 K-디지털 플랫폼이라는 사업입니다. K-디지털 플랫폼을 통해서 각종 훈련 인프라로 구성된 플랫폼을 해당 지역의 훈련 수요자들에게 공유하고 있는데요. K-디지털 플랫폼은 지역 중심의 훈련이기 때문에 디지털 소외 지역에 있는 훈련 수요자들이 훈련 기회를 보장받는데 굉장히 큰 기여를 하고 있습니다. K-디지털 플랫폼은 훈련 기관들에게 훈련 시설, 장비와 같은 각종 인프라 비용을 지원하는 사업인데요. 1년차에는 10억, 그리고 2년차부터 5년차까지는 매 1년차마다 5억씩 지원받을 수 있어서 총 5년간 최대 30억을 지원받을 수 있습니다. 그리고 K-디지털 플랫폼 또한 훈련 기관과 기업이 필수적으로 협약을 체결을 해야 됩니다. K-디지털 플랫폼의 진입 요건이 KDC 또는 KDT 훈련에 참여하는 기관들이기 때문에 이제 훈련기관들이 KDC 또는 KDT 훈련을 참여하면서
they can be involved in a K digital platform. They can be ease the burden of platform expenses and be offered with satisfactory education courses and training courses. And as listed here, the training institutes are providing training infrastructures during training, but non-training times as well, making sure that everyone can access these training institutes and facilities. So K-Digital platform is a region-based platform or program. So you can see that nationwide, you have training institutes evenly distributed nationwide in Korea. We have 35 places provided K-Digital platform. So let me give you several exemplary cases of K-Digital platform. The first one is SK Telecom. And SK Telecom is where you are going for a field tour in the afternoon today. If you go there, it provides the latest AI tech service at a place accessible by any person. And you can actually experience AI technology. And the K digital training is provided here too. Another case I would like to introduce is ELISE. It's a training institute, and ELISE provides K digital platform provided through the platform available at its training institute. And if you look at the CEO to the elementary school students can be involved in this program, as you can see in the bottom images or the column. And another example is CJ Olive Networks. And through this platform offered at CJ Olive Networks, K Digital platform is open to every age groups in Korea. Now I'm going to wrap up by providing you with the future direction of K Digital platform. We want to expand the targets and scope of joint training centers. So we want to make sure that it has more openness to everyone. So we want to increase the target of training. Also, what we want to do is that we want to improve infrastructure utilization so that we can expand the openness and sharedness of joint training center. Going forward, K Digital platform will operate as a hub for digital training. KDC and KDT will be provided through K Digital training platform. So we are trying to link all these programs. I cannot move the slide. Okay, good. Lastly, K Digital platform, as I mentioned, is a regional-based program. We want to develop a training program suited for regional characteristics and demands. For example, we can we can develop a regional-centric training system or program and providing this training to small and medium-sized companies and businesses in the region in an easily accessible manner. And we want to easy access to the K Digital platform anytime, anywhere, distributed evenly by region. I made a presentation very fast. I introduced you to three notable K Digital programs available at our Ministry of Employment and Labor. Thank you for listening. to fulfill the mission of the powerhouse of digital era, we want to build a program to support this move. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. King. From her introduction, I learned that in Korea, government, the Ministry of Employment and Labor, first of all, identified the digital skill gaps, right? Based on this accurate identification, the government guide training institutions and the private sectors to design, deliver training programs, and the government also set this network, a series of platforms to support training, right? So this is a very functional system. So if you have more questions to Ms. Kim, please keep them after the third presentation. Now let's turn to the second presentation from Mr. Matt Singerman. Mr. Singerman fly all the way from New York to this forum. He is the president of the Berlin Glass Institute and the chairman of Lightcast. I guess most of them heard of that because they are leading instruments. The Berlin Glass Institute advances data-driven research and practice in the area of future of work and future of learning. And the Netcast, based on the real-time labor market data, connected learners, employers, education institutions, and policymakers. And Mr. Singerman writes widely on the job market, and he's also consulted frequently by public officials and the global media. So the floor is to you, Mr. Singerman.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. You know, in his wonderful keynote speech just a little while ago, Dr. Miyamoto described how that skills matter. And so what I'd like to do is to add to his presentation by digging in a little bit to which skills matter. Not only the foundational skills that Dr. Miyamoto described, but what are the applied skills, the technical skills that those foundational skills unlock and enable people to learn. I'll be sharing a good amount of data in this, and these data come from the labor market observatories that we've built that enable us to actually read in real time what employers are actually seeking. This is an important and complementary source of insight because it allows us to actually see changing signals in the demand for skills in real time. And often with a greater level of granularity and specificity. And so let me start, in fact, by describing why that's so important. You know, there's a lot of discussion and a lot of apprehension about how quickly jobs are changing, and we tend to worry about skill shortages. Director Kim was describing a shortage of about 350,000 workers here in Korea with advanced technical skills. Very often we describe those shortages in terms of occupations, in terms of occupational shortage. But in fact, what we see in many cases is that the same jobs that have existed will continue to exist, notwithstanding our anxieties. I remember there was one of the big consulting firms a few years ago had a report that said that by 2030, 70% of us will be working in jobs that haven't been born yet. If that's going to be the case, there's a fair amount of catch-up to go because there's no indication of that in the data. But what we do see is that the same old jobs that we're very familiar with look very different underneath the surface. So the title has stayed the same, but the skills that employers seek for those jobs have changed, and often dramatically. In our study together with the Boston Consulting Group last year, we found that the average occupation in a number of global markets has seen 37% of their top skills replaced just over the past 5 years. So we've all heard about the half-life of skills, but what you're seeing is an acceleration of that half-life. By the way, that 37% of course is an average, so it means that top quartile jobs in terms of their skill replacement, have seen almost 76% of their skills replaced. This is not just a digital phenomenon, as you'll see on the right side of the page. 51% of the skills of a marketing assistant, certainly not a digital job, have been replaced. Now, it's easy to assume this is really essentially a technological force, that what we're really seeing even in a job like marketing assistants is that there's new digital technologies that are driving that transformation. And there's certainly no shortage of that, but what we're actually seeing is a more profound phenomenon, and that's that jobs are combining skills. You'll see here two sets of jobs, both in the digital, in the data economy at least, accountants and data scientists. Accountants, by the way, historically were the data scientists of the 19th century. The dawn of the Industrial Revolution, you used to manage your firm with the gold that was in your purse. And just as all of a sudden everyone needs data scientists today, suddenly in the Industrial Revolution, accountants were a big deal. But I compare them not just because of their epoch. What are the skills you need to be an accountant? Well, you need accounting skills, of course. What are the skills you need to be a data scientist? Well, the natural answer would be to say data skills, and that's certainly not wrong. But when you actually analyze what employers seek, there's an even more intensive demand for programming skills, and a still very intensive demand for business skills, because we hire data scientists not just to run numbers, but to run numbers to solve business problems. Now think about within a training ecosystem where each of those skill sets lives. Programming skills are taught inside our tertiary education systems and our higher education systems by computer science faculties, business skills by business faculties, data skills by math faculties. And yet increasingly, jobs need all of these. And in fact, you can see here some data from the US on the right side of the page, where on the one hand, over the last about dozen years, you've gone from 150 data scientist job openings in the United States in 2011 to almost 70,000 last year. But the bigger story is not that. The bigger story is that the number of jobs that required intensive data analytics skills went from 300,000 across 17 occupations to about 1.2 million in 81 occupations. So inherently there are sets of skills that everyone is going to need, and why programs like K-Digital training become so important. By the way, it's easy, we're talking about data scientists and the like, and it's easy to think, well, these are only problems of the elite university educated professionals. But in fact, in what we refer to often as middle skill jobs, these are jobs that get trained through tertiary training but typically don't require a university degree. 8 in 10 of those in some industrial economies that we've analyzed recently are now digitally intensive. Digitally intensive middle skill jobs are growing twice as fast as others and twice as likely to pay a good wage. The 2 in 10 that are not digitally intensive are increasingly concentrated in construction and transportation. So these are transformations that are affecting all sectors of the economy. Now, when we think about where the emerging growth is across a range of nations, you would see that there's significant growth across the digital economy, the automation economy, the green economy, the logistics economy, and so forth. And these economies will actually create large numbers of jobs according to our projections. But here's the tricky thing. The jobs that are being created require new skills. The thing on the right side of the page, I realize it's probably quite difficult to read from where you're sitting. I promise you it's not a COVID spike protein. If you were to look at on the right side of the page, 3 o'clock, you would see something that says industrial big data analytics, 600,000 jobs. I'm a student of the job market. The first time my researchers showed that to me, I said, guys, what is industrial big data analytics? Don't know what that is. So inherently, as we're going to see these jobs getting created, but all of a sudden they're going to need sets of skills that we're not familiar with, and let alone are we familiar with developing effective training for those sets of skills. That's especially important because new technologies aren't just cut and paste. And you would think, okay, well, look, there's now a new technology, there's now ML skills that are required in a job, and inherently, we just need to train that new skill. But actually what we find is that those emerging technologies often are transformative to work. You can see here different definitions of a mechanical engineer, again, not based on an industrial organizational profile of the role, but based on what employers look for. You see on the far left, when employers are trying to hire a traditional mechanical engineer, what skills do they seek? When employers are trying to find a mechanical engineer who works in vehicle to infrastructure, in V2I systems or in autonomous systems, what are the skills they seek? You'll see there's not much in common between those lists. I'll give you a perhaps more mundane example. Let's think about actuaries. You probably don't think about them very often, but they do think about you and when you're going to die. But actuaries, interestingly enough, are beyond thinking about morbidity and such topics like that, are essentially doing computational math at scale. Well, machine learning does computational math at greater scale. And so as a result, when you look at an actuary who uses machine learning, which is only a couple of % of them right now, but when they do, all of the skills that they normally use in doing computational math, they don't need anymore. Instead, they need Python skills. They need other sets of skills like that to be able to drive the machine learning systems. So the sets of transformations that we're going to see are going to be more than just acquiring a set of new skills. Overall, we've been tracking 5 sets of emerging skills that we see as potentially most disruptive because they're growing fastest and spreading widest. They form essentially between those two axes of spread across sectors and growth rate and efficient frontier. Those are AI/ML skills, cloud skills, product management skills, social media skills, and design skills. In the US, 1 in 8 job openings today requires just one of those 5 skills. That's 1 in 5 in manufacturing, even 1 in 10 in government. And those sets of skills command significant sets of premiums. So these enable people to be successful. One of the issues here is that the strengths we have today in our workforce, even as we start to develop these sets of skill bases, may not be, because of the pace of change and the dynamism of the market, may not be this pace with, may not be the sets of skills we need for the future. So if you were to compare what are the highest demand cloud skills, one of those 5 disruptive skills, you'd see the chart on the top. Microsoft Azure skills, SaaS skills, public cloud skills, Amazon S3, so forth. What are the highest growth cloud skills? It's an entirely different list. So if we sort of think about what is the skill battery we need for today, what's the skills we need for our workforce for the future, in a lot of sectors, that pace of change is going to challenge us to be much more responsive. But unfortunately, our traditional training and education systems don't align particularly well. So here on the left, some data from the US about logistics careers, certainly across a number of economies around the world. We're seeing significant supply chain shortages in addition to talent shortages. In the US, there is about 10,000 logistics degrees of various levels in tertiary and higher education that are conferred each year. 20,000 logisticians leaving the workforce every year and 6,000 net new demand. So you can see an inadequate supply chain there. On the right, you're seeing data and assessment that we undertook recently of tertiary, what we call career and technical education programs, where these are industry recognized credentials that are being taught in secondary schools and in tertiary training. And what we found is that only 18% of the credentials that students are earning through such programs are actually in demand for good jobs by employers, while many credentials that are well sought after by industry are not being developed. And so that speaks to the problem of being able to create more effective alignment. So the key then is making sure that we have the right sets of skills. And that means not only the core sets of skills in any given field. On the left, you're seeing graphic designers. But some of the skills that often get forgotten. Bottom right, you're seeing sets of skills that don't belong to the domain, but are still relatively frequently required in a job. So for example, a graphic designer is doing project-based work. They need project management skills. They need budgeting skills. We don't tend to teach those in a graphic design course. And so as a result, we're finding graphic designers who are inadequately trained. Similarly, there are sets of skills that are rapidly emerging into the field. Not every graphic designer needs to know how to develop an effective infographic, but those who can are highly sought after. And so there's an ability to get ahead of where demand is going to be. But to Dr. Miyamoto's point, we also need a set of foundational skills to actualize these applied skills. Key, though, to bear in mind, beyond sort of the core cognitive skills that he described, there's a broader suite of skills which are transversal to 21st century work. Those are not only the core human skills you'll see at the bottom, creativity skills, critical thinking skills, and the like, but also sets of data skills, digital skills, even business skills that pretty much everyone needs. Might seem unorthodox to say that business skills are now foundational to 21st century work. But take the example of something like project management. Whether you're going into construction, whether you're going into ICT, whether someone is pursuing a career in nursing. Increasingly, nurses have to be able to coordinate care across different providers and need project management skills to do it. So these are, it's as a result, and the sets of these foundational skills are actually more important the more data-driven, the more tech-enabled a career is. In fact, we took a basket of jobs which are most data-driven, most tech-enabled, and we found that they have a more intensive demand for foundational skills. 3 times the demand for creativity skills, double demand for teamwork and collaboration skills, and so forth. So as we think about which skills are needed, it's important to understand the motor that they create within people's careers. Skills are effective at launching, at differentiating how people launch in their careers. You see here marketing careers, and you'll see there's sets of skills that characterize well-paying and low-paying marketing careers. We know what those are. We need to make sure that we are building the sets of skills that set people to launch effectively. We know that skills advance careers. Here's an example of an administrative assistant and a job that has certainly some automation risk and exposure. Here's directions that she can move. If we think about the skills she already has, the skills that can be built on top, and therefore other sets of opportunities that she can move on to, and the kinds of significant wage gains that are affected just by that limited set of additional skill training, which provides a new model of skill development, one which is more efficient and more titrated not only to a destination, but also to an origin where you're starting from. And finally, skills arbitrage careers. So we're all familiar with the idea of buying low and selling high. A graphic designer who is making $51,000 a year in the US, who acquires interaction design skills, gets paid $68,000 a year. It doesn't cost $17,000 to go to a tertiary training academy and learn interaction design skills. So this is the unique alchemy of somebody who's able to buy low and sell high in themselves. I'm going to, I was going to wrap there anyway, so in any case, here we go. Just a very brief thought. As we think about that idea of training for origins and for destinations, it's useful to create a framework thinking about both where people, both not only what we've observed, what transitions we see working, but also the skill alignments that we see between jobs. Very often we see that people in a given job have a set of skills which are in demand, even if it's in a different sector, in a different function, different occupation group altogether. So we put those two together, we can start to identify hidden talent pools who are ready to be able to make the jump to jobs in the digital economy and the skills that they need in order to make the transition. I'm looking forward to hearing Dr. Prima's remarks.
Thanks very much, Mr. Singerman. From Mr. Singerman's introduction, I understand the real-time data and analysis of the data really tell us a lot. And Mr. Singerman and his institution's research are very significant, right? And this help to bridge the digital gaps between supply and demand side. So again, let's keep the question for the Q&A session. Let's move to the Miss Manuela Prina to see how her work to narrow down this digital skill gap. Miss Manuela Prina is the hand of the skills identification and the development unit within the Knowledge Hub department of the European Training Foundation, short for ETF. Mr. Prina joined the ETF in 2008 and had various roles. Before she joined ETF, she used to work in ADB and World Bank, our former colleague. And her professional interest is mainly in the lifelong learning and skill development. The floor is to you, Ms. Prina. Thanks.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you for inviting me and having me here. It's my first time also in Korea, so I look forward very much to not only share with you my knowledge and the work of the European Training Foundation, but also to learn from all of you and also really from the Korea experience also this afternoon. So thanks for this opportunity. Today I will share a few insights from the work that the European Union is doing to address digital transformation, and also some insights from the countries that the ETF works with. Just a couple of words about the European Training Foundation. Some of you I know are familiar with the ETF, and some of you also came to Torino very recently, also having a short study visit at the ETF together with the ILO Training Center. ETF is an agency of the European Union, so we report directly to the European Commission, and we work in countries outside the EU, acting as a bridge between the European Union and those countries that we call partner countries. So you see here in the colors the countries we work with, but nevertheless our work, especially as regard knowledge and acquisition and studying good practices, expands really globally. And this is also why I'm very happy to be here with you today. Let me start then by sharing with you some of the work that the European Union is doing to address digital transformation, which is definitely a concern that I would say is global. So after the pandemic, which brought humanity together, I think that the digital and green transition are also the other two things that are really common across all countries of the world. In this slide, you see what we call the digital compass, which is really our driving policy framework to look into digital transformation. And you see here that it's not only about skills. I mean, skills is one of the pointers, extremely important, but it goes together with other three elements: infrastructure, the digitalization of business, and the digitalization also of governments. Why it is all together in one compass? It's, I mean, I think it's something that you all notice in the work you do, is that we need to address elements together to actually move to a transformation that really has impact on societies. So when we look at skills and also education, it's great, but we need to do this together with other elements which are key to actually make things happen in the world of digital transformation. There are some principles that at the level of the EU we have agreed that are what we want to achieve when we look at digital transformation. Why is this important? It's important because we need to guide this transformation and not to, be just subjects or be consequences of what happens in this society. So this digital transformation needs to have a goal. And for the European Union, the goal is really people at the center. So a lot of time I hear in speeches, digital first. Well, for the European Union, this is not really the priority. The priority is people first. And so all our choices we make and also the investments we decide to do, the programs, the projects, need to take the lead from this decision, which is a decision that comes primarily at political and policy level. What comes first? And for the EU, this is really the center of attention, people. What are some of the objectives that the European Union has put forward for 2030? They are very ambitious objectives when we look at skills and competences for the digital transition, and are very similar, I think, to some of the objectives that we heard already today from other presentations. There is definitely the need to increase ICT professionals with advanced and highly specialized skills. So the European Union aims at moving from 7.8 million to 20 million workers by 2030 with high and advanced skills in ICT. There is a need to develop specific skills in the labor market. So we talk about low and medium intensity ICT skills, in particular through upskilling and reskilling. And here the European Union has posed a target by 2030 to have 60% of adults enrolled in training and learning every year. Imagine 60% of us in this room every year going to training. It's quite a challenging proposition. And finally, also when we look at basic digital skills, there is really the objective to increase the percentage of the population that has basic digital skills from 54 to 80% by 2030. This is extremely ambitious for many different reasons. I always say that when we look at the ICT professionals, we have many competitors because it's not easy to convince all young people that this is their job for the future. The biggest competitor is this, and what models in terms of what kind of jobs are attractive for young people is definitely a competitor against this target. But I will also say that sometimes, we have to be careful not to suppress the talents of people. So we may have the future, I know an Italian designer, Ferragamo, who produced his first pair of shoes at the age of 10. And maybe if we would force him to become an ICT professional, we would not have such beauty in the world, across the world. So it's very difficult to gain and to get to these targets because we need to bring this together with the ambitions and also with the will of people and what they want to do in their daily work. So there is a lot of work to do also to make those professions attractive and to share with the young people why it's so important for society and for well-being that they learn those skills. Just a few data, and this is the Digital Economy and Society Index, which is what is used in the European Union to actually take stock of all the 4 dimensions. So here I just deep dive in one, which is the skills. Here you have some data that look into the skills for internet use, so let's say basic skills and the advanced skills for IT. You see that across European Union countries there is quite a big gap. We have Finland on the, let's say, top performer side of the European Union, and we have Bulgaria on the other side of the spectrum. There is a quite big gap, and means that there is also quite big work to be done to achieve those goals that I explained before. So to reach this, the European Union has put together a number of different initiatives. Some of them are really focused on one of those four spectrum, but here I list those that are more related to the skills dimension. For me, and I just leave to you the pleasure to go through those initiatives, but one that I would like really to share with you is the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition, which is an important initiative of the European Union that brings together stakeholders from different sides. So it's education and training providers, companies, but also civil society organizations that pledge into the coalition, making a statement and taking responsibility for doing something concrete to achieve those goals. And this coalition is growing every year, and it's really the example of how partnership is at the core of the digital transformation. So I invite you to have a look at those initiatives. An example of the work we are doing on the digital education ecosystem, as you see, again here, we open a new complexity in terms of how to address the specific needs of the education sector. So it's not only about making changes to the curricula, but it's something extremely more complex that also brings together, for example, the way qualifications are defined, standards, as well as teaching methods, assessment methods, etc. And the last, let's say, new kid on the block for the European Union is the attention, of course, to artificial intelligence. Not something new, because the EU has been working on this already since 2017, at least. But this year, we have published the ethical guidelines for the use of artificial intelligence in teaching and learning, a very useful tool in particular to orient teachers and educators in a moment where they feel confused on how to use AI and what kind of role AI could have in their job in teaching to children. Now, let's come to what does it mean in terms broadly for human capital development. We had a look to what it means for skills and also for the impact on new teaching methods. But there is definitely much more. Some of the presentations we have seen the reference to individual learning accounts as well as credential systems. And the digital transformation has a huge impact also on how we address the world of work. We have new jobs emerging, but also we have new tasks in existing jobs, as we heard just now. And we have also new methods of learning that regard the world of work. In particular, we see the emergence of micro-credentials, for example, and the need for the workforce to be upskilled and reskilled in a much faster way as compared to before, as well as we have workers on the market for longer, so with pension age actually being pushed forward, as well as good news, our life expectancy. So when we look at all those elements, the work that we do as European Training Foundation is to pose our attention on those elements of the ecosystem of skills And sometimes policymakers ask me, where should we start? Where do we start from? And it's a very complex question indeed, because there is not a good angle to start with. But it's very important to bring the different stakeholders together around a vision that brings everybody on the same agenda and the same objective that we can really work on together. How do we do this? And we started in the countries where the ETF works with, and here you have an example from countries in the Western Balkans region. So it's Albania, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Serbia, looking at what is really happening in the labor market. So on one side, we have the big data, as we heard before, with this survey that we did, which is a survey that measures perception of workers in how they are actually using their skills and what their job requires them to do. We have an example that tells us what is the skills intensity regarding digitalization in the labor market. And here you see that in most of the countries where the ETF is working in the Western Balkans specifically, most of the population has a low skills intensity required in their jobs today as regard digital. So when we talk about digital transformation, we're talking about something very different from what we mean today in the European Union, where instead the majority of workers has a medium skills intensity. Why do I underline this? Because when we talk about digital transformation, it's very important to look at the link with the economy today and the economy tomorrow. So in the Western Balkans, for example, it's clear that there is a huge potential of digital transformation which is not yet exploited in the economy. And you see that from the very low percentage of high skills intensity tasks that jobs of workers today have in the economy. But there is also a huge work to do in the low skills intensity, as the non-users of digital tools in the labor market are still quite considerable in size. In Albania, for example, is 27% of the labor force don't use yet any digital tool. Again, here, I invite you to think about your own country and your own policies and objectives in the economy. It's important to understand how the economy is played today to then move it forward for the future. So instruments such as these and measuring the skills today are extremely important. Some of those jobs, you probably, especially those that have very low skills intensity or no use of digital skills, it's very difficult to capture, for example, with online job vacancies, especially in countries that have a huge informal labor market system. And this is why it's very important to mix methods of analysis, especially to drive and to form policies for the skills development in the future. Key challenges that emerge in countries where we work are mainly related to the difficulty to bring things together. So the first slide I show you, the digital compass that really brings the digital elements together, is what is most difficult to achieve at policy level. And this is where it's very important that governments take the lead and also bring stakeholders around the table to define together the way to go about the future. There are also important elements that look into the different types of digital skills that we need in a society. In particular, when we look at the low level, let's say the basic level digital skills, those are not only important for the world of work, but they are more and more important for living, for being part of the society, for being able to access to services, for being able to actually be part of the community. And there also, it's extremely important to bring together not only the education and training providers or the employers, but also civil society organizations that work at grassroots level to address also needs in communities. I skip this slide and I come to some tools that I would like to share with you. And of course, then you will be able to access to them through the QR codes here. We already talked about the measurement and the DAY1, which is the digital index that is used in the European Union. Here you have a reference to Selfie, which is a tool used by education and training providers to assess their digital readiness. And it's an extremely important tool because it allows education and training providers to face their digital objectives as well as their digital transformation. And finally, it's a tool that the ETF has developed in particular to accompany countries in the digital education transformation, which is the digital education reform framework, where we have mapped a number of policy areas and transversal factors that are extremely important to guide digital education transformation in countries. Many of those factors refer back to what we have in the digital compass, but they deep dive in the education sector. Something that I think it has been extremely important in the development of this framework as we were peer reviewing it with a huge number of young people. It was their request to add strongly the dimension of mental health and well-being to the framework. And I think this is something that we should not underestimate as we learn from the pandemic that the number of requests for mental health support of young people has increased dramatically all over the world. We know, and I think it was one of the questions of the forum, we don't know yet what is the impact on technology on brains of young people, but the pandemic, I think, taught us something, that we need to make sure that we care about those effects in the digital transformation that we push across different policy areas. So to give you some examples, I brought with me a couple of tools. One is this publication, and I left a few copies outside. It's a publication focusing on inclusion and the tips that really one could apply to make sure that whatever we do in our digital transformation can reach out to all, and all means really all in society. So all jobs, all ages, all socioeconomic conditions. It's extremely important for the future of our work. And the second is a set of cards that we just produced with the Joint Research Center of the EU, which is a tool that is dedicated to educators. And it's a tool, sorry, I just unfold it because it's a tool that brings together the key competencies. It's many. So when I saw them printed, I was like, if a teacher sees this, they will feel sick, like, okay, is this all that we need to integrate in the curricula? So this is digital competences, green competences, transversal, life, entrepreneurial. We are asking a lot to the teachers. But we need to make this happen. And so to make the long story short, we try to gamify a bit the challenge of bringing educators and teachers on board of this transformation. As I think that teachers, very often I hear them saying, yes, these policy things are great, but have you been ever in a class? Or when was the last time you actually were in a class with 11-year-old kids? So it's very true, and I think as we are asking a lot to the future of education, I think also we need to give a lot to teachers and to educators, and so it's very important that we build with them tools that can help them to actually move in this transformation. So to conclude my presentation, 3 messages. The first is data, 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 data. The second is vision and decisions. What comes first, digital or people? And the third is making tools very concrete to help transformation happen, in particular focusing on teachers and educators in schools, but also trainers and leaders in companies that need to help people to embrace upskilling and reskilling, which is not easy, because our biggest challenge for adults is to get them to say it's fine, that we still need to learn. And so it's important that also educators in companies are part of this challenge. Thank you very much. I'll stop here and open for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Perina. We are now we are behind the time, but I guess you are more interested in discussion with our 3 distinguished speakers than the last lunch, right? Especially 2 of them come far away from Europe and America. So I would like to suggest to shorten our Q&A session. Have 1 question to Mr. Singer, 1 question to Ms. Prina, but keep our question to Ms. King to this afternoon when you visit the training center. It's okay? So now the floor is to all of you, and then 1 question to Ms. Singer, Singerman, sorry, and 1 question to Ms. Prina. Okay, so floor to yours. Any questions? We just have 2 questions. We just can't have time to 2 questions. Please, Ahmed, please.
The interpreter cannot listen to the speaker. Please use the microphone, please.
So I have been listening carefully to what you guys have said. And my question is, we have been talking about like skills from individual and singular perspective, which is humans. But I think in our digital transformation, we need to think about maybe multi-dimensional, means we need to think about human-machine collaboration. So it's not only about humans and technical skills, cognitive skills, but I think now we need to think broader than that, because all jobs and everything take in machines working with us, and that's why now we need to think more like comprehensively, and we have a project about human-machine collaboration or like human-machine symbiosis. So I think now we need to think about this, like teaming up skills, like for instance, trusting machines, empathy with machines, like disappointments from machines. So my question is about how about thinking from this perspective to take it to the next level of working with machines, which is really happening. And in this context, we have different levels of interactions with machines. Could be like simples, like tools, we are talking about calculators, or more sophisticated like interaction and work with machines, which needs also more sophisticated skills. So this is my question, and thank you.
So, your question is to Mr. Singerman or to Ms.?
But both. I have more questions, but I will keep up to that.
Okay. So we just reduce to 1 question. Please, Mr. Singerman.
Thank you for your question. Absolutely. It's extremely important, and I think the interaction with the machines and with the algorithms is something that it's also part of the learning. It's also something that brings new modalities of interacting in the world of work. So if you, for example, hire young people, normally their first question in a job interview is, what about flexibility, and how do you assess as an employer the use of machine operations in the performance of tasks. So I think it's also the young generation is posing questions to the need for the world of work to evolve. What comes in the picture is also, I think, is the diversification. Now we heard in the presentation of Matt that some of the jobs are transforming fast and interact with machines much more than other jobs. So we come from an era where the labor law has been applied to everyone in the same way, and we're going in a direction where there is much diversification in how jobs are performed and also how the job routine of people is performed in the labor market. And this requires the system to rethink itself, which is extremely complicated. And this is why it's very important that we affirm some principles again. So if we say people come first, and some principles of social inclusion and social protection are there, then from there you derive all other elements. But it's important that we go in this era of diversification with solid vision, or it will be difficult to be inclusive.
The idea of working side by side with machines isn't anything that's new. We know that's been something that's in some ways formative to the industrial era. One of the things that I think is going to be critical as we develop the kind of training that enables people to be not replaced by, but to be augmented by, to be by technology, is going to be our ability to pinpoint the specific ways in which people use technology to become more valuable to themselves and to the enterprises they serve. We've all had the frustration of being to a store and a cashier, you give the cashier a 10 euro note, and you bought something that cost €9.47, and she's struggling to enter it into the cash register. You want to just say, okay, just give me 53 euro cents, thank you, and we'll be done. The reality is that that's an example of a place where you have a core human task, it's undertaken by a machine, someone's using that machine, but they haven't actually become better. What it simply did was it replaced some of their core tasks. A lot of the analyses that are being done right now of generative AI impacts, some of the projections that we're seeing of the amount of displacement are undertaken on that assumption, that there is a set of tasks that define an occupation, that essentially a certain percentage of human endeavor is going to be performed by machines, and therefore human endeavor will be that much less needed and that much less valuable. And so the question is, if we look in a set of occupations where there's a significant dispersion of wages, where there's a significant, which would generally seem to indicate that there's a big difference, performance variability, we can then start to understand what are the skills that actually make people more valuable. And that's where I think we've got the most opportunity to explore the kind of augmentations that you're describing, where we can look at what are the ways in which technology can allow people to focus on their greatest strengths as opposed to what can be most easily replaced.
Okay, let's end this session by thanking three speakers for their excellent presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Li Ping Xiao, for chairing the session and the panelists. And due to the time constraint, we'll move on to the panel discussion. The panel discussion will be moderated by Ms. Cho Yoon-young, the senior economist from the World Bank. So Please welcome her with a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We are basically in between you and lunch, and the organizers are struggling to keep up the time, so let me start speaking while the table is being set up. So we just heard fantastic presentation about what skills have to be fostered and how those skills can be fostered, and we learned about Korea's experience and EU's experience. And we want to hear from other countries as well, but given the time constraints, we will hear from 3 country cases. We have fantastic star panelists here right next to me. It is my great pleasure to introduce Stefan Cesar. He's from the Philippines. He's acting chief of National Tibet Trainer Academy. He's representing the Philippines. And here we have Ms. Arvimet Kalauna. She's from Mongolia. She's Director General of Vocational Education and Training Department. And then finally, we have Indafan Singardala, sorry about my pronunciation, representing Laos. He's from Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare. When we are talking about digital transformation, we often start with this statement. If you digitalize a broken thing, you will have a broken digital thing. So digitalization, digital transformation is not just about digitalization or automation. It is changing the thinking and changing the mindset, especially the skills development providers also have to change their mindset. I think it goes well with the people first principle that Manuela just presented. So we want to learn from our panelists what kind of policies and initiatives are you taking to make your institutions and skills development providers to really achieve digital transformation. So we'll go from this order. Stefan, what are you doing in the Philippines for digital transformation?
Good morning. For the Philippines, because I work for the Technical Vocational Education and Training Ministry, basically our name is Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. So we started with preparing our guideline or our policy. We called it implementation of Tibet 4.0 framework, which was posted, I think, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So it starts with the same as what was explained earlier. We start with strategic direction, curriculum updating, infrastructure development, personnel development, assessment and certification upgrading. Then for the soft skill, we integrated the 21st century skills in Tibet programs because, as explained earlier, we found out that the fundamental skills are still are very important at this time of the digital transformation. Then we also implement area-based demand-driven Tibet. So this is a labor market study that we do in every regions that we have. Philippines is composed of 7,600 islands, and each island have its culture, has its language, or rather, how do you call the way we speak, communicate. So we need to do or granularize our study on its labor market, on what specific needs, industry needs are there in each regions. Then we have the pilot implementation of micro-credentialing system. So in these digital times, it's always said that the window for learning education is very small and very limited. So we wanted the Tibet courses to be as short as possible. We only address the demand of the industry. So it's, on our part, it's on the pilot stage. Then we also provided Test the Online programs. So this is an e-learning facility wherein workers can go learn and study Tibet of their choice. Then these courses leads to certification as well, or employment opportunities. So this is an online system. You can study anywhere. Even our OFW, our major clients for this system are the overseas Filipino workers who are working abroad so that they can continue or get a higher salary, they study, they take the courses. Then we also implemented multi-regional Tibet online programs. This is now to cater for the specific needs of the region inside the country. Then we supported this with free Tibet and scholarship funding. So most of our programs are government-funded programs or courses. So free access for every Filipinos. Then on the digital side, we developed and implemented Tibet programs for digital skills such as digital animation and arts, game development. We are on the path of developing diploma in cybersecurity, data management and programming, collaborative robot programming, among others. Though there are also other automation courses that we have already implemented. Then to support this, we improve our facility. So we're establishing regional Tibet innovation centers, which will lead the technology development in our Tibet institutions and probably offer advanced technologies as well. Then we're doing training of trainers, where I am connected right now. So our priority is to develop the skills of the teachers, Filipino teachers who are teaching Tibet. So that's our initiative.
Thank you so much. Very sweet. 4 minutes. So we'll go to the Mongolia's case. What are you doing in terms of digital transformation?
Hello. Good afternoon, dear guests. It's my pleasure to be part of this forum and share Mongolian experience of digital transformation in the Tibet sector. Sorry about my English is not so good. I will try my best. And please, if I will make mistakes, just let me know and excuse. Before the getting started, I will try give the brief information about the Tibet data. In Mongolia, we have 76 Tibet schools and colleges operating with 38,000 students and almost 4,000 teachers and staff. And digital development is a policy priority of the Mongolian government. Our country aims to become a digital nation, and digital transformation is seen as the bridge to achieving the SDGs. This year, the education law and Tibet law were revised, and our ministry is implementing the reform process. According to the new law, the main principles for Tibet development in Mongolia are based on public and private partnerships to narrow the skills gap in the labor market, strengthening work-based learning, and adopting the lifelong learning concept. We believe that digital transformation in education can address the digital divide between rural and urban students and transform teaching methods. Our goal is move from the teacher-centered methodology to a student-centered approach that includes various types of learning methodologies such as the hybrid, blended, distance, and on-the-job learning. The education sector is leading the digital transformation process. During the COVID-19 pandemic has achieved the initiation of digital transformation in the Tibet sector. Since 2019, the government made investment to provide computers for all TVET teachers. This important activity helped reduce the impact of the pandemic on the learning outcomes of students. Now, with the new law, TVET schools can generate the revenue from their activities, and this will help in further investing in IT infrastructure and tools by TVET schools themselves. Today, online TVET courses are being developed in emerging the high-demand occupations. This way, we aim to be responsive to the labor market needs. And one example is this year we introduced the IT course program designed by the Pearson BTEC of the United Kingdom. Currently, the TVET schools in the capital city continue offering online TVET courses. In general, face-to-face training has resumed nationwide after the pandemic. However, the experience told us that TVET schools can be prepared well for shocks, and further investments are needed for continuing digital transformation in the sector. The digital skills of teachers and instructors need to be modified and improved due to the evolving needs of the labor market. Also, it is essential to update the curricula of training programs by changing industry needs. We observe that there is increased automation and digitalization within industries and occupations. Therefore, more advanced programs will be needed. Yeah, I think this is our challenges for the future, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your English presentation was very clear and succinct. Let's go to Laos. What initiatives and policies do you introduce for digital transformation? Thank you.
Once again, my name is Inthawan Singdala from Laos. I pursued my master's degree in Korea in 2018, so it's very good to be here again. I'd like to share with you about what we have done in terms of the digital transformations in Laos PDR. Back to before the COVID-19, we feel that the digital transformation is something that's very fast for us. But after the COVID and during the COVID, we realized that it's very important, especially for the TVET and skill development institutes. So we have to change, we have to transform what we have done, and by the converting the online learning and emphasize the distance learning also. So the government decides to develop the scheme and infrastructures by receive the loans from the World Banks. We started from the data collections, what's the private sectors and industrial needs about the digital skills, and then we develop the new skill development law by input the industrial need and the mechanisms to enhance the digitalizations in the TVET system in Laos, and also the skill developments. And then we also working on the developments of the curriculum and the skill standards. This kind of the things is will help us to recalibrate and benchmark our skill supplies to the skill demand. yeah, this is what we have done. Is very in the initial stage, so there has a lot of challenges that we have to done, especially for the teachers' capabilities in absorbing and utilize the digital learning platform, and also we have quite a limited budgets, and also the infrastructures still far from the what the scale and the industry currently demands. Yeah, I think it's that's all for what we have done so far. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. We just heard from Philippines, Mongolia, Laos case. There are variety of initiative and efforts for digital transformation. There's no way that I can summarize everything, but I see common thread here. You know, we knew about automation and digital transformation, industrial revolution 4.0, even from the COVID pandemic. But it's really the pandemic which accelerated digital transformation in skills development and in skills training provision. So you have to really utilize this great momentum at this point to expedite digital transformation in the skills development sector. And then the second common thread that I see is that you have to invest in two areas. One is really digital investment, digital infrastructure, digital skills training, digital provision of training, so it is core digital. But it doesn't stop there. For digital transformation to really reap the benefit of digital dividends, you need to also invest in analog complements. You have to foster teachers, motivate them to teach the digital skills well. You need to make sure the inclusion of the disadvantaged workers and students. You need to have the balanced regional development, so you cannot forget the analog complements for the digital transformation. I know it is kind of early stage since COVID. It is very short period that you have been trying, but still, quickly, let's run around for the second round. What are the key lessons so far, or what are the key challenges that you faced? And how can the World Bank or other international organizations or partners can collectively help you addressing some of the challenges that you found? Can we go reverse order? Can we start from Laos?
Yes, as I say, we are in the initial stage, so we need a lot of the support in both the financial and the technical support, because we lack of the expertise in these areas, and also we want to explore and what we want to learn from the other country and ASEAN country, especially for in Korean. I see many things has been utilized in terms of the digitalization is very excellent. So I want to learn from the ASEAN country. So this platform I see, and I gain the knowledge and experience. I will share with my colleagues, and we will start discussing what we want to develop in terms of the digitalizations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, the digitalization is not done, but we have to work very hardly and continue to improve our curriculum, teacher development, and others. And we are cooperating with with donors, and donors always helping us and contributing, cooperating with Mongolian Tibet sector. One of them, the GIZ, the project is already with us in around 10 years to improve the Tibet sector in Mongolia. And actually the next year, and they will continue on digitalization of the Tibet sector and improve the curricula and teacher development. Of course, it's with the quality assurance. And we are working with EU project and UNDP, and the last thing, of course, the World Bank is our donors again through the employment sector. In Mongolia, World Bank is working very closely with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, and through this labor employment sector, we are working with the skills development, improving the curricula. We already made the survey, digital skills demand survey was just done, and this survey is just published in Mongolia. And cooperation with World Bank, and which actually very important document in order in improved curricula, training facilities, and training methodologies. This survey has been published just a few days ago, and of course it will be very helpful for our work.
Thank you so much. Philippines.
Yes, good afternoon again. I'd like to, I like the presentation earlier, wherein for the transformation, it should be people first. For us, our common challenges, I'll start with teachers, because teachers are the one who distribute or disseminate the information. So in our case in the Philippines, I feel that our teacher lacks exposure on advanced technologies. When you talk to them, that's 4IR, that's big data analytics. But if you ask them to do certain work that is related to that technologies, how can I do that? So basically, it's a signal that we at the top level may be talking about 4IR, we may be talking about digital transformation, but people on the ground are not that familiar with the technology. So what we wanted is to involve everyone, to inform them that the direction that we wanted to go, and that's one of our big challenge. Then second, I also like the analytics which was presented earlier about the skills and the jobs. When you can determine what are the skills in a particular job, and there's a study that shows it's just a repeating skills. So I also believe that. But in our case in the Philippines, it's so hard to get information about that. Industry will just tell you, we need workers like this on this job position, but they will not tell you what particular skills are needed. So us on the education sector are finding it hard to really determine what they need so that we could develop people or workforce for them. So that's our second challenge. Third, I think because I work in the government, I observed that the government is finding it hard to keep on pace with the ever-changing technology. So the technology changes so fast, and we in the government is not that agile. So we're preparing. By the time we completed the program, developed the trainers, the technology is not that new anymore. So I think future thinking would help, but we need someone who will guide us on to tell that will be our future. And it's again a soft ground for us. Then lastly, I think the involvement of the industry is also a challenge for us. If you wanted to close in the gap between what is the work requirement and what is the output of Tibet, then maybe what is better is you implement Tibet in the workplace rather than putting up a facility or infrastructure inside the school, which will take time. But if they do it, if they learn in the industry, then it will be faster. It's more aligned to the skills requirement of the industry. So if we can do that, then Philippine Tibet will be good. And lastly, I think diversified priorities. This is common to small country or not that developed country. So every industry sector wanted to be the most important. They wanted the biggest cut of the pie. When you allocate budget, they wanted the biggest cut of the pie to be allocated for them. So it's very challenging to manage. Then maybe not common to all, but for us, there's also a political priorities, where in every change management, change of leadership, again, change of directions. So those are the common challenges that we encounter in this digital transformation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Personally, I lived in the Philippines for the past 3 years, and we are engaging closely to TESDA, and the World Bank team is about to start the journey together with the TESDA. So, the challenges that you're sharing is very much resonating with me. But I think I can represent the World Bank and the international development partners and this kind of partnership fora, that what this kind of partnership or global fora can offer you policymakers in solving some of those challenges. First one is really evidence building. What kind of skills are required? I wish every country has burning glass data, that type of analysis, but we have limited capability. But this kind of international partnership and fora can certainly build the evidence base, what kind of skills are needed and how the government can prioritize. So the first area is really the evidence building. And second one is know-how. How do we deliver the skills for the digital transformation era? We can bring international experience. We can exchange learnings from each other, and we can think about the know-how to how to engage the industry for prioritizing skills development and what other countries have done and what they have learned. These kind of exchanges are so valuable, so we can certainly foster this kind of knowledge exchange and help the government to make informed decision, not swayed by political priorities or other interest groups. And finally, the elephant in the room is like, where do we find funds for paying for this skills development and investing in this infrastructure? So the World Bank and international partners can certainly help with the kind of financing assistance to really make this skills development a priority in your country for the digital transformation era and skills development for the human resources. With that, everyone is hungry, so let me stop this panel discussions, and please give a loud round of applause for the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you Ms. Jo Yoon-young and the speakers for sharing their valuable insights. With that, we will conclude session 1 on digital transformation in vocational education and training, including the presentations and panel discussion. So thank you all those who have participated. It concludes the first day of the 2023 ASEAN Plus 3 HRD Forum. The event will continue tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. at the same venue. Lunch is prepared for the participants.